Good evening, friends. It's Chris Angel coming at you for another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. If you are listening to this in iTunes, then you will never have known that I took 2 days off. But if you are somebody who watches my Facebook Lives, then you know that I have not been live for 2 days. 2 days when I have a daily show. What? Hey, Chris, what gives? What's up with that? Well, look, here's the cool thing about a daily show. Having a show, period. It's your show. So you can do whatever you want to do when it's your show. And for me, I took 2 days off to get perspective. Sometimes you just want to make sure that you're tapping into what feels relevant. And sometimes you just get a little numb, right? For some reason, the jackhammer metaphor just picked up in my head. If you were holding a jackhammer forever and ever, your hands would begin to get numb. And you need to just put the jackhammer down for a little bit until you regain your senses. Then you can pick it up and begin jackhammering again, which is what we're doing now. We're jackhammering onward in this show called Marketing for the Rest of Us. So let's talk about value. This is really important. I'm preparing to teach week 6 in my 6-week intensive program tomorrow. And part of what we're going to talk about tomorrow is value. Value. This is really important. I did a post the other day that got some good feedback. It seemed to strike a chord where in service-based industries, there's this thing going around lately that says like, oh, we just need to charge what you're worth, right? Like increase your prices, charge what you're worth. The problem with that is, and I think I mentioned this maybe even in a video, is that we don't even know what that means. Like, how do you decide what you're worth? What we take that as is like an assertion of our own belief in ourselves. Like, I'm going to charge what I'm worth. I'm going to charge what I'm worth. Yes. And then I go, what is that number? I don't know. What am I worth? I don't know. Like, am I worth 5,000, 10,000? I don't know. And then we throw some arbitrary number at our service because we're trying to fall in line with the group think of it all that says, oh, that's right. Everybody's saying charge what you're worth. So I'll throw a big number on there. But that's not actually how people buy, and it's not how people determine value. So let's go more specifically this time into what determines value. I used to teach, my background is in real estate for many, many years. And when I would teach CMA classes, right? Classes on how do you determine value for a home, comparative market analysis. I always used to use the example of milk, right? Like, how do I know that milk is a good deal? How do you know if milk, per gallon, price per gallon, how do you know if that's a good deal? Well, you know that milk at $1.99 is a good deal because you see it everywhere else for $3.49. I think in the text of this post, I put that if gasoline were $1.99 a gallon, you might, if you were my mom, race across town to get gas for $1.99 because that's better than everywhere else where it's $3.49. So here's the point, right? The point is that people find value when it's juxtaposed against something else. You have to quantify your value. And if you're in a service-based business, that can be very hard to do. So I'm going to give you a couple ways to do that. Okay, number one, there are the hard costs attached to what it is you offer. In other words, what are other people charging for something similar to what you do? So I could say like, look guys, if you're going to go out and take a marketing course, you could spend $5,000 like I did to fly. In addition to travel expenses, you could fly down to California and take a $5,000 course like I did, or you could pay $787 for my 6-week intensive program. So that, right? That is like, I spent in June, I flew down on my dime and paid $5,000 in addition to travel expenses, and I paid $5,000 to learn some additional marketing strategies. Or you could spend $787 for my 6-week intensive and basically get a lot of the same nuggets from that course that I took, right? So how do you know that $787 is a good price? Because I just told you, I just juxtaposed it with what I paid for something similar. So that's one way, is hard costs. Another example of hard costs would be in my 6-week intensive program, I talk about one of the things that you get is an equipment list. and the equipment list is valued at $500. And the equipment list is a simple one-page list. Wait a minute, hang on, Chris. One page and you're saying that that's $500 of value? Yeah. Do you know how many things I've spent in the last 10 years? How many pieces of equipment I've bought in the hopes that that would be the piece of equipment or the software that would get me over the hump? I've spent so much money to figure out the very few things that you actually need to do this successfully and on the cheap. How do you do this on the cheap? Well, you follow the things that I've done. All the failures I've had, you don't have to have. And I valued that at $500. Why? Because it's probably more than that, right? But I figure that there's way more than $500 I've spent in stupid technology tools. But let's just call it 500. So there's a hard cost to that. Now, that's the first piece, is hard cost. Now let's go to soft cost, right? Another way to start to find value for what it is that you do is to look at soft costs or projected costs. What is the cost of you continuing to sit idle in your marketing and not actually be consistent in your message, in your marketing, or not be clear in your marketing? You might post on Facebook, you might post in social media, but if you're not clear, how much money are you leaving on the table? Because people have no idea how to relate to what you do. How many thousands or tens of thousands of dollars now are we talking? How many clients over the last 5 years have you lost because you weren't clear? So this is another way. Now this way, soft costs are actually a bigger number, and you have to get creative here because it's speculation. We're projecting. We're like, I don't even think you can calculate how much you've missed in opportunity. But we have to put a number on it, because the only way I, as the consumer, find value is if you start to add it up for me. So if I say, like, look, my 787 course is already, you get 2 private coaching sessions with me, by the way, which are, I charge $1,000 a month for my private coaching. When you do that, if you do private coaching with me, you get 2 calls a month with me. So I'm giving you in this program 2 private coaching calls in addition to the 6 2-hour trainings. So if you just get the 2 private sessions, it's already $1,000, and I'm only charging you $787. So do you see how I'm starting to give you the specifics of? I'm connecting dots, and I'm giving you linear logic for what the value of this is. Then I'm like, look, I spent $5,000 to take a course, right, that taught me a lot of the things I'm going to teach you. But you don't get it for $5,000, you get it for $787. That includes my 2 one-on-one private sessions. Now, let's just look at the amount of opportunity cost of you not being clear in your message. How much have you left? I'll ask you, how much have you left on the table by not being consistent and not being clear? Those 2 things, consistent and clear. How much have you left on the table in the last year? In the last 2 years, the last 5 years? How much will you continue to leave on the table in the next 5 years if you don't figure this out? Easily tens of thousands of dollars. Easily. Now, here's the part that makes this work, guys. If you're just playing with numbers and throwing out arbitrary shit that people can't really buy into and sink their teeth into, then they smell it, because it's not anchored in anything real. But when it's real, because you know that it's real, you know that you've left thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars on the table in the last 5 years, if not the next 5, you know that I'm telling you the truth. And that's what makes this real. And it's hard. It was a jump for me. I really had to jump from, I hate to overpromise things. I hate to, I just want people to feel like I'm above board, like I am being super straight with you. And so it was a hard leap for me to start to go into the projected costs of things, because it's speculative. I have to imagine what it is you've lost in your business and what you'll lose in the future. But if we don't put a number to it, and I just say that my program is $787, well, you're like, well, I could go hire somebody for $5 on Fiverr to tell me what to do with my marketing. Well, of course. There's always somebody that will do it cheaper. And that's the thing, right? That's why we have to start to connect some dots for people about the numbers of it all. You have to start to find the numbers of this for people. Otherwise, listen, how do you quantify? How do you quantify what it is you do? And how will they know the value? How will they know the value of what you offer? It's not enough anymore to just say, guys, I'm really good at what I do, and this is what I charge. You have to connect. We buy emotionally, yes, it's true, but we use our linear logic to try to justify what that does for it. We're like, yes, I totally get this now. So, in closing, as you start to approach your the next level of what you're offering to the world, you have to start to find a way to have them see the value. And the only way that happens is in juxtaposition with something else. The only reason gasoline at $1.99 a gallon is a value is because I've seen it everywhere else for $3.49 a gallon. This is how we, the consumer, determine value. So you have to start to put some numbers to what it is that you do, and not just the number that you sell it for, but the number of why it's valuable. Okay, that's it, gang. I look forward to hearing your comments and circling back with you in the comments. If you want to learn more about how to actually get people who are interested in what you do so that they can see the value that you offer, I recommend my free course, Marketing for the Rest of Us, the course. It's 5 videos, just over 90 minutes, and you can get that at groundswellmethod.com. If you really want to take that to the next level, then you can apply for the 6-week program, my 6-week intensive program, where we really dive into the messaging of all of this. So thanks for hanging out with me tonight. We'll catch you tomorrow for another episode, and until then, see ya.